As C. Montgomery Burns would say, ahoy hoy, you ragamuffins. I've just been vaccinated first time, and that's not what the video's even about. Um, you know, I'm a little on the fence, but my own meditations and feelings was that it's better to than not to. That's just me personally. I'm not telling anybody else what to do, should do. It's your body, your choice. But anyway, uh, I don't feel ill, but I feel extremely tired. Like when I was a child, there was cold medication that was supposed to like hop you up, and it would make me like super drowsy. So the vaccine has made me super drowsy. Actually, somewhat reminiscent of psychosis. Don't worry, I ain't have no psychosis. It's nothing to do with that, but the weakness and the tired feeling, I feel flattened out. So, preamble aside, what I want to talk to you about today is things not to say to a disabled person, at least not to me. And this was sort of sparked yesterday. There's this goofball in my building. I think he's like, if I were to guess, fundamentally religious. And I have no problem these days with any religion that doesn't, preach outright hate or, says no gay people or no minorities or, that certain people are superior to others. Or, yeah, so basically, if your religion doesn't promote out and out fascism, then I'm okay with it. It's about love and understanding and coming together. Um, Not a problem. And, even if you do happen to be Jehovah's Witness or Mormon or, something that's, more dogmatic than, say, liberal arts, Anglican or, Buddhist or something like that, that's fine too, as long as you're meaning to help people. So the dude in my building, he's like, this is pretty standard run of the mill. In some ways, it's not worth getting riled up about because this is what I would call incidental or meaningless discrimination. So he said things to me before like, oh, I always help handicapped people. And some people get all upset about handicap. I don't give a fuck either way about that. But it's just this idea, or like he talks down to me, like what did he say yesterday? He said, oh, how are you today there, fella? You should be careful. They're doing some repairs right by the door there. Oh, and his tone of voice, right? If he said it in a different way, if he said, "Hey, man, there's repairs going on," like, just hopefully, ask them to make space for you, or like just talk to me like a normal adult. Um, that's cool. And I'll tell you, like, some people don't know any better, so like I tend to like humor the very like, the small thing. Oh, mommy, what's wrong with that man? And it's like 3-year-old kid. I ain't gonna get mad at a 3-year-old kid for being questioned. Or conversely, if they're like 83 and cats like me went to special schools and was away from needed to see people like me. They're from somewhere where the population is 17 and it's all one big family and marriage at the same time. um, Not against polygamists, I'm just saying it's not for me. But if it's one of them deals where it's like a person can, or if they're somewhat obviously cognitively impaired, you know, uh, you know, uh, um, uh, somebody that fits the 18 to 65 demographic, and hey, what's wrong with you? And they got something wrong with them, then I don't get too mad. But like, if you don't got nothing wrong with you, and you automatically assume that because I have a physical disability, I'm somehow like precious or like weak or feeble-minded or something like that. That ain't the way to go, and it pisses me off. And in some ways, what I mean by that it's incidental or meaningless discrimination is that this guy is not holding me back from friendships or doing business or having relationships, right? He's just some random schmuck. And I don't know, he looks long time comics might remember this guy. Some people might be trying to forget. He looks like Grant Robertson, this fellow. And like every time I see him, I bite my tongue and I sort of recoil and I don't want to speak to him because it's like, oh, hey there, guy. Oh, you know? And I just, and you know, the thing is, if I like try to straighten him out, he'll probably get defensive. And even if not, you know, it means that if I try to straighten him out, I have to interact for a longer time with a fucking idiot. So it's easier to just go, oh, and like recoil and try to ignore him to keep the interaction short because I'm easily annoyed. And like I said, it's not he's not the guy actually causing me any problems. He's annoying me and pissing me off, but it's just, he's an idiot, right? So it doesn't really matter. Um, some other things that are a little bit more nuanced that I really don't like. Again, I'm not one to be fussy with the terms you use. I mean, I have a podcast called Gimping and Easy, and it's a sort of a coy little title there, but the whole point behind doing something like that was to, sort of take back those words and say, you know, if we're, language policing, those aren't the issues that I'm concerned about around disability rights. The issues that I'm concerned about around disability rights are, you know, friendships, doing business, and having relationships. So how your body and especially society's reactions to it limit you from those type of things, that's the shit I want to fight. So, you know, um, and obviously I extend my concern to other things like I'm very um, in in favor of people living as independently as possible, not being forced into group living scenarios when it's simply that their physical needs are impossible for them to meet on their own. They don't have the money to afford the care that they should be, forced to a senior's home or some other kind of like institutionalized sort of scenario. That I'm strongly against. I'm very much in favor of keeping your home accessible if you need it, like elevators being operational, if repairs are happening where the ramps are blocked off or whatever, the building must provide an alternative. I'm not so focused on public spaces, and that's not to say I don't have any problem with public spaces being made accessible, but I think that, something like putting laws into effect for all new buildings to be um, made with accessible entrances and accessible all the way through, like that's cool. But to run down some like old mom and pop shop that like, they're in a 300-year-old building and they're barely able to stay in business and they've got employees and stuff and this old structure like can't really be readapted. I'm not sure that those old mom and pops need to be the uh, object of your wrath. So have a little bit different and also like to be perfectly fair, I have some better mobility than some other disabled folks. So I can crawl up some stairs, I can crawl up the stage at comedy shows. I don't have a problem doing that myself. So I just to like create a little difference from where I might stand and some other folks, and why, and it's not wrong. It's not. Yes, everything should be accessible for everybody. Like I'm not against that, but I'm just like for me, it's like well, where it's most important and what is most important around disability rights. So this is becoming quite long. Things not to say to me. Do not say, well, you're not really that disabled. This has happened to me from a guy, and I like this guy, and he's a clever, smart guy, and he knows a disabled dude, so he pushes him and all this stuff. But it's like, dude, I'm an adult, and like, no, I don't think you really know how disabled I am. Okay. And here's the thing. Everybody sees me kind of hobbling around, and actually hobbling around even more so because I hurt my foot or ankle or something. Like it's okay, I can crawl around, but if I'm walking, I take certain steps. It's like excruciating. And if it ain't better in a couple days, I'm gonna have to get that shit looked at. Only been able to take the short way to the cafe. Um, I have had a sleep disorder that was not corrected until I had a complete breakdown and had to go through a couple tries of pills to get something. So I, other than the last like 2 years, I've lost most of my adult life due to sleep deprivation, right? So that's major. And yes, it's part of CP, it's part of my brain damage. So that's not so visible. The pissing, you know, I'm not going to go into the detail about that, but my urinary tract is tremendously debilitating. So like, oh, you see me, like I'm kind of fit, I got muscles, I got a nice build. I guess that's debatable who you ask. Some say too skinny. I say by whose standards. But, so when you say, oh, you're not really that disabled, you don't fucking know how disabled I am. And even if you really did, it ain't your place to say, I ain't some kid that you can say, oh, geez, buddy, you need to learn some better life skills. You say that shit to me? How dare you? Fuck you. Don't say it. If you have said it and you know who you are and you listen to this, be a man and fucking apologize to me. It's a shitty thing to say. Fuck you for that. Not fuck you for other things, but fuck you for that. Um, yeah, so that's another one. Um, the other big one I want to touch on today is opportunities. Don't provide insulting opportunities. This guy, another guy, good guy, heart in the right place. Okay, but he said, few, and he's well out of the country now, this fella. But so he knew what I did, right? And he offered me um, to have access to a performance space for rehearsal. Okay, well, first of all, I fly solo, right? So I don't need space. I need my apartment to be quiet so I can concentrate. And I only trade in speech and language. I am not a physical comic. If I tried to do Charlie Chaplin, I'd be spend the rest of my life in a hospital bed. It ain't happening. I really would fucking hurt myself. So, I don't need that. He again don't know, but here's how it's framed to me. Well, I work with some homeless people, and if you ever want to drop by, and nothing against homeless people. Some people are homeless, they can't get their own place. Some people are like roaming the streets. Some people that are homeless even roam the streets are tremendously talented artists. But the way that's framed, that's like, hey, dude, come to my drop-in center, right? As though what I did wasn't really very professional and I'm just some kind of hobbyist, you know? Yeah, this place for homeless people. You come in too. You're just trying, you know. Uh, and I don't think he meant to be insulting, but it is, right? Again, nothing against homeless people, nothing against that, but it is a slight to my professional acumen. The other thing this guy did was he made me an offer. He had a burgeoning coffee shop that never took place, never really got off the ground. Fine, but he offered me this opportunity where less than minimum wage. Now I've been a poor man. I'm not above minimum wage, but if it's less than minimum wage to do books for him, like spreadsheet type stuff. And okay, so what he didn't know is just earlier that summer I had recorded radio ads for Yuck Yucks. Again, I've worked middles for yet. I'm not really far, I'm not, I don't make a lot of money doing comedy, but I have worked as a professional comic. I've got arts grants in several disciplines, poetry, theater, and film. And I have a 26 episode deep podcast and I do these vlogs and, you know, um, So and to do spreadsheets, if it were a minimum wage offer, that's not so insulting to me. But it's the fact of a menial task that again is going to be, oh, well, you can get that done in a few hours. Well, no, actually, it takes me a lot longer to type things out, and because of my spasticity and stuff, my fingers get tired, right? So I can't really like it's going to be harder for me to do that job. And so just for a few extra bucks. Now, if you had said to me, "Oh, my burgeoning coffee shop, like I'll give you 200 bucks to like come up with some funny ads." And yeah, that's less than minimum wage, but that's something that speaks to my strengths, something that speaks to the professionalism of what I do, the dues I've paid, the quality of work that I've put in for. Anybody can do spreadsheets. You get able-bodied guy to do spreadsheets that doesn't have hand spasticity and stuff, it's going to be a lot easier for him. And so, if he'd offer me minimum wage for that, I wouldn't be so offended. But this couple extra dollars thing, super menial task, one that's hard for you, and he doesn't know these things, right? He didn't mean to be like a dick, right? But like in trying to help, he's actually more insulting than if he said nothing. So, you know, I think what I'm ultimately trying to say here is like ask questions, find out, find out what is helpful, find out what is, you know, going to make me or other disabled folks, feel good about themselves. I know everybody's different levels, but I really don't like those work placements where they pay you like minimum or less than that wage to do like super menial stuff. I know for some folks, like that's a good thing, but it's not for me, and it's not for a lot of us, right? So, like, look at people as individuals. Like, and if you don't know, like, oh, I heard you do stand up. Like, why don't you tell me a little bit of your history there? Oh, okay. Well, actually, yeah, I do poetry for quite long too, and I have again less than my credits. I'm not going to do it again, but I have all these things, and I've achieved, you know, it's limited, but I have achieved some financial recognition for these things, right? So like be respectful, and if you don't know, like ask in a respectful manner, like hey, like I don't know, like what, like you understand, like what have you done it like 4 times, or have you done it for like 15 years, right? Like it's a different thing. And I think we avoid more like if that situation presents to me like, hey, like I can't really offer you that much money, but like, is it a sensible thing for me to ask you to like do spreadsheets for my books? No, it's not actually. It's harder for me to do. Doesn't speak to my talents. Doesn't speak to my interests. Less minimum wage. Like, no, it's okay that but and oh yeah, and one more before I go. I know this is quite a run-on mess here, but I'm not repeating myself too much at least. I mean, it's all off my chest. Um, Somebody professionally he'd asked me. He said, "These are all men, by the way. This is interesting. Women have tended to value my professional acumen a little more. Go figure. But anyway, that's the way has been in my experience. And this dude, so he was running CKDU. These are all different people. That's why I'm saying this is a pattern. This is pandemic or epidemic, as the case may be, and they want to make the CKDU office more accessible. Oh, you should come to these meetings and like put my 3 cents in. Okay, number one, I'm not a consistent wheelchair user, so like, I'm not the right guy to ask. Number two, if it doesn't speak to, again, getting paid, getting laid, getting friends made, I'm not, for the most part, interested. Number three, he didn't ask. It was just telling me, and there was no offer of money. Like, hey, like can't pay you much, but I'll give you like 50 bucks to come to these meetings. Or like, I'll pay your cab, or like, I'll get you a meal. It's just, you should come to these meetings, and it's like you're making a wage off this shit. Like maybe you're doing extras beyond your wage, but you're making a wage off this shit, and you're getting me, an impoverished disabled man, to come in and give my expertise on accessibilization. It's not even a word. People are making up words all the time. Why can't I? So what? Why is that not in the initial um, request, or like, hey, I can't pay you, but would you be interested in? Like you can ask, you can ask, but you don't tell, you don't assume, and you don't suggest, oh well, this is good for you, because it's up to me what the fuck is good for me, right? You know, I mean, if I was sitting there doing needles and drinking Listerine, and you want to say, oh well, that's not good for you, sharing needles and drinking Listerine. Well, you got a point. It ain't good for nobody, right? But just this idea that like disabled cats should do a certain thing because it's what's best for them without even asking them what, and it's going to be different. Not every, and in fact, I find not nobody has the same opinions as I do. I'm an army of one, and I continue to be so. Does this mean I'm tremendously ahead of my time, or just a complete social misfit? Yes, and especially yes to the latter. Okay, folks, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this rambling rant. And you guys, if you know who you are, who did these things, I don't hate your guts. It's not that. But if you recognize um, what I said, be a man and apologize. Okay, ciao for now.